Sahara Desert. It spans across North Africa. It's the largest hot desert in the world, one of the driest regions on Earth, but maybe not so much anymore. The Sahara is blooming with life. Desert's green shift with plant life popping up everywhere.
Have you ever imagined a world where a desert is transformed into a thriving river, where water flows in places once thought impossible? It's not science fiction, it's reality, and it's happening right now. Picture this. From the burning hot deserts of Pakistan to the vast sands of Libya and even the towering dunes of China's Tarim desert, the unthinkable is being realized. These colossal, groundbreaking projects are so audacious that they have shocked the world, shifting the balance of nature, challenging traditional views, and leaving the US, China, and the entire globe reeling. So how did these nations make the impossible possible? And why are they now under intense scrutiny from all corners of the earth? The Catchi Canal, turning desert into green gold. In the unforgiving desert of Balochistan, Pakistan, where the sun beats down relentlessly and the land cracks under the heat, a monumental transformation is underway. The Catchi Canal is no ordinary irrigation system. It is a bold vision turned reality. Stretching over 399 kilometers, this colossal waterway channels life-giving water from the mighty Indus River, which has long been the lifeblood of Pakistan's agricultural economy. But it's not just about diverting water, it's about creating an oasis in one of the driest, most desolate regions in the world. This canal has the potential to irrigate 71,000 acres of land, turning barren deserts into lush fields where crops like wheat, corn, and cotton can flourish. And it doesn't stop there. Every hour, the Catchi Canal can move enough water to fill 200 Olympic-sized swimming pools, creating an irrigation system that not only serves local farmers, but also promises to power economic growth on an unprecedented scale. While the canal's promise is enormous, the journey to bring this ambitious project to life has been anything but smooth. From the very beginning, the Catchi Canal faced enormous hurdles, chief among them the chronic issue of insufficient funding. Politicians and bureaucrats squabbled over resources, and at one point, the project was even threatened with cancellation. Imagine the frustration of thousands of farmers eagerly awaiting the first drops of water, only to face the prospect of losing it all. Yet, in a dramatic twist, Pakistan's government, with the backing of international investment, managed to breathe new life into the project, ensuring that the Catchi Canal would not be a pipe dream. The canal's early successes in irrigating fields in southern Punjab and parts of Balochistan have already begun to show how massive the benefits could be. As crops once impossible to grow now flourish, the dream of a green revolution is inching closer to reality. But the road to this agricultural utopia is far from a straight path. As much as the initial stages of the project have been a success, there are still many challenges on the horizon. For one, the project is far from complete, and the remaining stages of construction will require immense resources and patience. The canal will need to be extended even further, and its distribution network must be established in remote, rugged areas where the infrastructure is minimal. To complicate matters, the project faces the ever-present threats of political instability and the pressures of a growing population. Pakistan's economy has fluctuated, and the financial burden of sustaining such a massive project has only increased. But it's the climate crisis that poses the most formidable risk. Pakistan's water resources are already under strain, and global warming is causing more irregular weather patterns, threatening to disrupt the canal's flow. However, there's no doubt that the Catchi Canal has the potential to be a game-changer, not just for Pakistan, but for the entire world. With desertification becoming an ever-growing threat, the Catchi Canal could serve as a blueprint for transforming other arid regions across the globe. Could this project be the key to solving the water scarcity crisis in other parts of the world? If Pakistan's Catchi Canal proves successful in the long run, it could be a shining example of how large-scale infrastructure projects can turn back the tide of desertification, reviving entire regions. The stakes are high, and while challenges remain, the impact of this project could reverberate far beyond Pakistan's borders. Will Pakistan's Catchi Canal become the blueprint for transforming desert landscapes worldwide? As global warming accelerates, the world may soon be looking to these groundbreaking water projects to provide life-saving solutions. Stay tuned, as the next project might just be more audacious than this one. Libya's Great Artificial River, a desert's water miracle. Imagine discovering a buried treasure in the middle of the world's driest, most inhospitable desert. But instead of gold or jewels, this treasure is something far more valuable: water. That's exactly what Libya stumbled upon in the 1950s. Deep under the Sahara Desert, scientists uncovered the world's largest known fossil water aquifer system, the Nubian Sandstone Aquifer, a vast reservoir of water older than civilization itself. It's enough to fill the Caspian Sea twice over. But the discovery didn't end there. Libya's government decided to do the unthinkable: build the Great Artificial River, a sprawling system of pipelines, reservoirs, and pumping stations that would transport millions of gallons of this precious water from deep below the Sahara to the north, to irrigate crops and quench the thirst of a nation. This monumental project, which cost an eye-watering $27 billion, was dubbed the eighth wonder of the world. It wasn't just an engineering challenge, it was a political statement. Libya, with its massive oil reserves, was determined to secure its future by transforming its barren lands into fertile fields. The project began in the 1980s, and within a few years, Libya was pumping water from the depths of the Sahara into homes, farms, and fields, making once arid areas fertile. The Great Artificial River was built in 5 stages, and by the 1990s, it had already begun to change the lives of millions. In a country where fresh water was a luxury, this project was nothing short of miraculous. However, like any monumental achievement, it came with its own set of hurdles. Political instability, rising costs, and international sanctions made the task more difficult than anticipated. And in the years since, the project has faced numerous setbacks, from financial strain to corruption. But it continues to be a lifeline for Libya. However, the story behind this river isn't just about the triumph of human ingenuity. It's also a cautionary tale about sustainability. The water being transported isn't renewable. It's fossil water, which means that once it's gone forever. As Libya continues to rely on this system to sustain its agricultural needs, the clock is ticking. The question remains: how long can this incredible engineering marvel sustain itself? And with Libya's political future uncertain, can the project continue to thrive and provide water for generations to come? The world watches as the Great Artificial River could one day become a symbol of both human triumph and folly, depending on how the next chapters unfold. But there's another twist. The Great Artificial River wasn't just about water for agriculture. It's about turning Libya into a self-sufficient, water-rich oasis in the middle of a desert. The hopes of millions rest on its continued success, and yet, the project's immense costs and its reliance on an unsustainable resource loom large. Will Libya's dream of an agricultural powerhouse become a nightmare as the water dries up? Or will new technology come to the rescue? Only time will tell. As the world pushes forward with incredible feats of engineering, what happens when these projects hit a wall? Will the Great Artificial River, once seen as a miracle, become a cautionary tale? Or will it continue to redefine what's possible in the world's most inhospitable climates? The journey is far from over. Stay tuned as we venture into the next groundbreaking mega project. China's desert masterpiece, the Tarim Desert Highway. In the heart of China's Xinjiang province lies a desert so vast and unforgiving that it has been called the place you can't return from. The Taklamakan Desert, one of the largest sand deserts on Earth, has long been an impenetrable barrier, isolating China's resource-rich western regions from the rest of the world. But what if someone decided to build a highway through it, stretching over 550 kilometers, cutting through the barren wasteland as if it were just another road in the country's massive infrastructure project? What seems impossible is, once again, being made possible by China. The Tarim Desert Highway, a monumental feat of engineering, has forever changed the economic landscape of the region by making previously inaccessible oil fields and remote villages suddenly reachable by truck. This bold initiative wasn't just about creating a road, it was about creating a lifeline for China's expanding oil industry. For decades, China relied on oil imports to fuel its economy, but with vast untapped reserves beneath the Taklamakan Desert, the country saw an opportunity to shift the balance of power in its favor. Building the highway was a massive gamble, surrounded by sand dunes as high as 20 meters, and facing temperatures that could melt the tarmac. the Tarim Desert presented a nearly insurmountable challenge. But, like all great gambles, China had no intention of losing. The Tarim Desert Highway became the lifeblood of Xinjiang's oil production, making it possible to transport workers, engineers, and equipment in record time to the heart of the desert's oil fields. However, this success didn't come easy. The road had to withstand the relentless forces of nature, and even the best-laid plans couldn't account for the sheer power of the desert. Every year, massive sandstorms would sweep across the highway, burying large sections of the road under layers of sand, rendering it impassable for days at a time. Engineers had to think outside the box to overcome this. Instead of building traditional road barriers, they innovated with a new approach, planting vegetation along the route to hold back the shifting sands and developing state-of-the-art infrastructure to protect the highway from the ravaging desert winds. But even that didn't come without challenges. The desert kept fighting back. The construction of new infrastructure led to unforeseen problems, from maintaining roads in extreme weather conditions to finding sustainable ways to prevent the highway from being swallowed by the desert. Yet, against all odds, China pressed on, proving that no terrain was too harsh and no challenge too great to overcome. But what's next for this ambitious project? What other countries are learning from China's engineering marvel? And will the lessons from the Tarim Desert Highway revolutionize how we approach the world's most impossible locations? The journey of China's bold leap into the desert is just beginning, and it's bound to set the stage for even more mind-blowing projects in the future. Stick with us as we explore the next revolutionary project that will change the way we view the world. Africa's Green Wall, turning back the Sahara. For millennia, the Sahara Desert has been expanding, devouring everything in its path, turning fertile lands into barren wastelands. The Sahara's relentless march is responsible for displacing millions, causing food shortages, and creating one of the most inhospitable environments on Earth. But as the world grows increasingly concerned about climate change, Africa has taken on one of the most ambitious and audacious projects in human history, the Great Green Wall. Spanning 15 kilometers wide and stretching across 7,775 kilometers from Senegal in the west to Djibouti in the east, this monumental effort aims to stop the desert from claiming any more land. The plan is simple, yet bold. Create a barrier of trees, plants, and shrubs that will hold back the Sahara and bring life back to the land. The goal is not only to stop desertification, but to regenerate once thriving regions, creating new forests and farmland, as well as improving the livelihoods of millions of Africans. This ambitious project has already seen success in certain regions. In Senegal, the project started as a small-scale initiative and has grown into a full-scale operation that includes planting drought-resistant trees like the Balanites aegyptiaca and the Acacia senegal, whose roots penetrate deep into the earth, reaching the underground water sources that the Sahara so desperately lacks. By nurturing these plants, the Sahara is slowly being pushed back, and areas that were once dry and desolate have started to bloom. But, just as with the Catchi Canal in Pakistan and the great artificial river in Libya, the journey has not been without its hurdles. Many environmentalists argue that the project will only yield limited results and that it is simply a greenwash, unable to truly combat the mighty force of the Sahara's expansion. Others suggest that the project's true impact won't be fully realized until 2030, when all 22 African countries are expected to contribute. The efforts of countries like Senegal, Nigeria, and Chad to halt desertification have been a beacon of hope. But the Green Wall isn't just about planting trees, it's about rethinking how we view the environment. The project is a unifying effort across national borders, creating new economic opportunities, reducing poverty, and providing new sources of food and energy for communities that have long suffered under the oppression of the desert. The potential impact of the Green Wall is not just environmental, it's social, economic, and political. Governments are collaborating to ensure that the Green Wall can thrive, even in the face of global climate change. But there's a catch. Getting the Green Wall off the ground has required the infusion of billions of dollars in aid. And as the global economic landscape shifts, so too does the funding for the initiative. This leaves the future of the Green Wall uncertain. There's also the question of what happens after the Green Wall is completed. The creation of a verdant paradise where there once was only sand seems like an impossible dream. Will the lush oasis be sustainable, or will the desert simply reclaim it once more? Can the green wall act as a buffer against the effects of climate change, or is it simply a temporary fix? These are the tough questions that environmentalists, leaders, and scientists must grapple with in the coming years. As we continue to push the boundaries of what's possible with technology and engineering, the story of Africa's Green Wall serves as a reminder that innovation and determination can change the course of history. The Green Wall may be one of Africa's most significant environmental projects, but will it stand the test of time? Can humanity truly reverse the march of nature, or are we simply delaying the inevitable? The Green Wall might just hold the key to saving the continent, or it could become one of the greatest failures of our generation. Keep watching as we explore more world-changing projects that could redefine the future of Earth. The Sahara Desert, reborn, a vision of tomorrow. Africa's battle against the expanding Sahara Desert is one of the most formidable challenges humanity faces today. With desertification sweeping through vast portions of the continent, it's easy to imagine that these regions are lost forever. But the Great Green Wall is not just a desperate attempt to push back against nature's power. It's a symbol of hope. For generations, Africa has been at the mercy of the desert, but the Green Wall represents a fight back, a testament to the continent's resilience, innovation, and commitment to a sustainable future. If successful, it could forever change the way we approach the climate crisis, not just in Africa, but around the world. The idea that nature can be both tamed and nurtured is radical, but it holds the promise of a greener, more prosperous future for millions. In the coming years, as the Green Wall continues to grow, the global community will be watching closely. Could this monumental feat be the spark that ignites a global movement to fight desertification and climate change? If the Green Wall succeeds in reversing desertification, it could have profound implications not only for Africa, but for the rest of the world. Imagine vast deserts once thought to be barren, turning into thriving ecosystems that produce food, water, and sustainable energy. What if the technology and techniques developed here could be applied to other regions suffering from environmental degradation, like the Middle East or parts of South America? The possibilities are endless, and the stakes have never been higher. But as the project progresses, so do the challenges. The reality of this enormous undertaking is far more complex than anyone anticipated. While the Green Wall has made impressive strides in certain regions, much of the progress remains fragile. Climate change, political instability, and lack of resources continue to threaten the project's success. But one thing is clear: the Green Wall has inspired a movement. From Senegal to Sudan, and from Egypt to Ethiopia, nations are working together to combat desertification. With innovative techniques, community involvement, and a deep sense of urgency. But will they be able to build upon the momentum already gained, or will they falter under the pressure? The world will be watching closely. With global attention now focused on Africa's efforts to combat desertification, the Green Wall may very well be the harbinger of an environmental revolution. As we look to the future, we must ask ourselves, are we ready to take on the challenge of climate change with the same level of commitment, innovation, and determination that the African nations have shown? The Green Wall may be Africa's dream, but it could soon become the world's reality. The question remains, can humanity's ingenuity overcome the forces of nature? What if the Green Wall is just the beginning? As the world struggles to combat climate change, could this massive environmental project be the solution we've all been waiting for? Saudi Arabia's desert oasis, transforming arid lands into fertile fields. Saudi Arabia, renowned for its vast expanses of arid desert, is rewriting the story of the Rub al-Khali, or empty quarter, the world's largest continuous sand desert. Despite its harsh environment, Saudi Arabia has embarked on an audacious mission to turn its barren land into productive agricultural zones, transforming the country's food security landscape. The kingdom is employing cutting-edge irrigation methods, from desalination plants that convert seawater into fresh water to innovative wastewater treatment systems. By using this processed water, Saudi farmers are now able to grow crops like wheat, barley, and vegetables, once considered impossible to cultivate in such a dry climate. The sheer scale of these agricultural zones is staggering. Vast fields stretch across the country, once desolate sand dunes now transformed into patches of green. The national push for self-sufficiency in food production has had immediate effects, reducing reliance on costly imports and providing more jobs within the agricultural sector. However, as breathtaking as the transformation is, there are significant concerns about sustainability. Despite the technological advances in water management, the primary concern remains the long-term viability of these water sources. Desalination plants are an expensive and energy-intensive solution, and while wastewater recycling has proven effective, these methods are still reliant on finite resources, namely the country's underground aquifers. As the country continues to pump water from these wells at an ever-increasing rate, questions loom over the future of groundwater reserves, which are non-renewable. Furthermore, there are environmental concerns tied to large-scale irrigation. Salt buildup in the soil from excessive irrigation is slowly degrading the land's fertility, threatening the very fields that have made the country's desert bloom. The ultimate challenge for Saudi Arabia will be maintaining this agricultural revolution while simultaneously addressing the risks of over-extraction and environmental impact, which could render these vast agricultural expanses unsustainable in the coming decades. The kingdom's push towards a more food-secure future also reflects a larger global trend of adapting to climate change and shifting agricultural patterns. By creating green landscapes in the middle of an unforgiving desert, Saudi Arabia has demonstrated the potential of innovation to solve the challenges posed by desertification. Yet, the true success of this transformation will depend on how well these practices can be scaled sustainably. As climate change accelerates, the ability to replicate this success in other desert regions of the world may very well depend on the lessons learned in Saudi Arabia. How long will the kingdom be able to balance the thirst of its land and the cost of maintaining this vast green revolution? Only time will tell. With Saudi Arabia's transformation pushing the boundaries of desert agriculture, could this desert oasis become the blueprint for other countries facing similar challenges? As the world struggles with the effects of climate change, keep an eye on this desert experiment, because the solutions may not only change the region, they could redefine agriculture worldwide. Israel's Negev Desert, innovating agriculture in arid conditions. Israel's Negev Desert, once seen as a barren wasteland, has become a symbol of human ingenuity and perseverance. Located in the southern part of the country, the Negev accounts for nearly 60% of Israel's land area, yet only a fraction of it was considered suitable for farming. Enter Israel's agricultural revolution, where the country has turned its desert into a thriving agricultural region. By pioneering drip irrigation technology, Israel has revolutionized the way water is used for farming, allowing crops to flourish even in the most arid conditions. The use of treated wastewater for irrigation has further reduced reliance on fresh water, turning the Negev into an agricultural powerhouse. Today, the desert produces a wide variety of crops, from tomatoes and cucumbers to dates and melons, and exports them to countries all around the world. But how has Israel made this possible? The key lies in innovation and determination. The development of drip irrigation in the 1960s, replacing traditional irrigation methods that wasted precious water, has been one of the country's most significant contributions to agriculture. This method delivers water directly to the roots of plants, drastically reducing evaporation and water loss. Alongside this, Israel has pioneered techniques like soil conditioning and using desalinated water for agricultural purposes, making the desert bloom like never before. These breakthroughs have not only improved food production in the Negev, but have also provided critical solutions to other arid regions across the globe. By offering training, technologies, and knowledge transfer, Israel has helped countries facing similar challenges, such as Jordan, Ethiopia, and even regions of Africa, implement desert agriculture techniques successfully. Despite the success, the Negev's transformation into a vibrant agricultural landscape is not without its challenges. The biggest concern remains water scarcity, as Israel's resources are finite, and desalination is an energy-intensive process that requires significant investment. Additionally, the Negev's soil quality is far from ideal, and it requires constant attention and treatment to remain arable. Over time, salinity can build up in the soil, making it harder to grow crops. Though Israel's agricultural advances have been impressive, maintaining this success will depend on sustainable water use, energy resources, and ongoing technological innovation. The increasing demand for water in the region means that balancing agriculture, urban needs, and environmental preservation is an ongoing challenge that Israel must address to avoid overexploitation. The world has much to learn from Israel's desert farming success. Israel has proved that with the right tools and mindset, even the most inhospitable lands can be transformed into productive, sustainable agricultural zones. As the world faces the twin challenges of climate change and food security, Israel's experience provides valuable lessons for how innovation and resilience can meet these challenges head-on. Countries across Africa, the Middle East, and even Australia, where water scarcity and arid conditions are becoming more severe, could benefit from Israel's expertise. Israel's model of desert farming offers a path forward, but can the technology and techniques developed in the Negev be scaled globally in time to solve the world's growing food crisis? As Israel's success in transforming the Negev desert continues to inspire the world, could its methods hold the key to solving the global water crisis? With desertification expanding worldwide, the race to create sustainable agricultural practices has never been more urgent. Stay tuned to see whether Israel's model will become the global solution for feeding the world's growing population. Egypt's desert reclamation, turning sand into soil. Egypt, a land historically defined by the life-giving Nile, is taking on one of the most audacious environmental projects of the 21st century, transforming its vast desert landscapes into productive agricultural zones. In a country where nearly 95% of the land is arid and uninhabitable, the government has embarked on large-scale desert reclamation projects that promise to address the growing challenges of food security and population growth. The vision is bold: convert barren stretches of desert into fertile agricultural land by harnessing the power of irrigation. These projects, spanning thousands of acres, aim to make desert farming a reality and reduce Egypt's dependency on food imports, which currently make up a large portion of the country's food supply. With vast stretches of land in the Western Desert and Sinai Peninsula, Egypt's reclamation efforts are nothing short of revolutionary. The process involves several key components: large-scale irrigation systems, soil conditioning, and the use of modern farming techniques. The government has invested heavily in building new canals, irrigation networks, and reservoirs to ensure the steady flow of water from the Nile and underground aquifers. But the challenges are immense. Desert soil is notoriously inhospitable, often lacking the nutrients required for crop cultivation. To overcome this, Egypt has turned to soil treatment methods, such as the application of organic matter, fertilizers, and advanced techniques to enhance soil quality. The goal is not just to create more arable land, but to ensure that this land remains productive and sustainable in the long run. The reclamation efforts also involve constructing new infrastructure, such as roads, power grids, and housing for the new communities that will emerge in these once inhospitable areas. However, the desert reclamation projects have faced significant hurdles. One of the primary concerns is water usage. Egypt's most valuable resource, the Nile River, is already under pressure from upstream countries, and the reclamation of desert land requires significant amounts of water to irrigate crops. With climate change exacerbating water scarcity, the question arises: how much more can Egypt continue to draw from the Nile without causing long-term harm to the ecosystem? The water consumption in these desert reclamation projects is immense, and the long-term sustainability of these initiatives will depend on how effectively Egypt can balance its growing water needs with the environmental pressures facing the region. Moreover, critics have raised concerns about the displacement of local communities, the potential environmental impact of large-scale irrigation, and the risk of salinization, the process by which soil becomes too salty for agriculture due to excessive irrigation. Yet, despite these challenges, Egypt has seen remarkable success in some of its reclamation projects. For example, the Toshka project, which aims to tap into the water resources of Lake Nasser, has already turned desert land into farmland, producing crops like wheat, rice, and vegetables. The country has also made strides in utilizing newer, more efficient irrigation systems, such as drip irrigation, which significantly reduce water waste and increase crop yields. Additionally, the government is working with international organizations and private investors to bring in the necessary expertise, technology, and funding to ensure the long-term success of these projects. The desert, once thought to be a permanent barrier to Egypt's agricultural development, is now seen as a potential frontier for expanding food production and ensuring the country's future food security. Egypt's desert reclamation efforts have the potential to reshape the country's agricultural landscape and serve as a model for other nations facing similar environmental challenges. However, the success of these projects will depend on their ability to address the balance between development, environmental sustainability, and resource management. As global population growth continues to put pressure on food production, the lessons learned from Egypt's transformation of its deserts could hold valuable insights for other countries struggling to feed their populations in the face of climate change and desertification. Will Egypt succeed in its quest to turn sand into soil, or will the environmental pressures prove too much to overcome? Only time will tell. As Egypt races to turn its deserts into farmland, could this be the breakthrough the world needs in the fight against desertification? With limited resources and a growing global population, could Egypt's ambitious project be the key to securing food for future generations? The future of desert reclamation is unfolding before our eyes, and Egypt's bold moves could change the game. Will they succeed in transforming the desert into a fertile paradise, or will the challenges prove too great? Share your thoughts below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more groundbreaking stories like this. See you next time.